Hello and welcome to Office Hours on Tuesday, May 21st. Welcome to everyone here. It's great to see Nick and Charvel since we don't get to always see you guys and everyone else who we do see more often. Good to see all of you. I am going to pull up the agenda. But I think usually we start with announcements and questions. Did anyone have anything on that section? Nick.
Hey everybody, good to see you all. I actually just got kicked out of my office for a fire alarm. Otherwise I was going to be on a laptop and have a little bit better experience. But I have an announcement. The Windows code signing key for Osquery expired, and I am in the process of trying to get it back online. But we need to have a HSM set up by some cloud provider in order to host it due to new code signing key storage requirements, and that's taking me time that I just don't have right now. I just moved houses, so I've been very overwhelmed with personal life things. But I wanted to just at least let everybody know that that happened, and I'm trying to get to a resolution. But what this means is that any new releases of Osquery being signed by Windows will be expired. It'll be an expired key. It won't work. If anybody has resources or time that they could help me get this set up and test it, I'd greatly appreciate it. Please reach out to me on Slack. Otherwise, I'm going to try to get this done as quickly as I can. But wanted to give everybody a heads up.
Yeah, we have a fire there.
Nick, thanks, and I can probably help there.
Okay.
Is it the kind of thing that you can like delegate to me, or is there going to be some identity verification stuff they're going to make it be only you?
The cert's expired, so we got to cut a new cert anyway. The hard part I need help with is standing up the infrastructure. But if we wanted, I had started this process with Seth, but Seth is busy with school stuff. We were going to try to get the Osquery name on this cert. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to do. I think it'd be better to just try to get someone's name on it, try to get the cert back online as quick as we can. And to be clear, this was my fuck up. I had plenty of time to get this done, and I just didn't. Again, personal life has really dominated my life lately.
It happens.
So yeah, I mean,
are you confident that that because the cert is expired, it cannot be renewed?
No, I'm not. We can try, man. Look, what I would say is, I'm happy to try and just renew my cert and try to keep that alive. The problem was I just didn't have time to set up the HSM in Google Cloud. Have you set up HSM or like any sort of cloud-based key storing provider? Because I don't want to get a little hardware token. We need this to be hooked up to the actions, right?
I think that I don't know if we actually pulled the trigger on it, but I think that we're just going to use like the DigiCert service.
Oh, really?
Where they, for a few $100, they'll give you the cert and like the HSM cloud hosted HSM service.
All right, man. I'm down to do that.
Was our old cert with DigiCert?
Yeah, it's with DigiCert. It's just, it was my personal code signing key. And I've been footing the bill. I just didn't want to spend, $800 or whatever dollars for the key service. If somebody's down to help me pay for that, maybe.
Is there a cheaper option at Google?
It takes a lot of work. The cheaper option is we stand up our own HSM in Google Cloud, which I've almost got done. I have it like stood up, and then we cut a normal code signing cert through DigiCert, and then we store it in the HSM. And but I think you're right. I think it's only a couple $100 cheaper.
I mean, I strongly believe that none of us should be personally paying for any of these things, and we do have the reimbursement dollars.
Okay, this might be a great time to bring up another topic of interest then, because I think Seth has been footing the Amazon S3 bill for some years now.
Yes, and Seth, every time Seth brings that up, I tell him to please submit a reimbursement request, and he just won't do it.
Then that's on him then. All right.
I think it's solidly on him. He's been strongly encouraged to
great.
do it.
Then disregard.
In this
How about
case
this?
with you, let's make sure that like you just submit the request and we make sure to approve it.
Well, so in that case, if we are in favor, I will just get the appointment set up with DigiKey and pay them for their service. And that'll at least get the key back online. We will have to change the GitHub Actions to use that key, but I think there's good tutorials on how to do this. I think DigiKey has support for DigiCert has support for a GitHub action. I'm like mostly confident I saw these tutorials when I was looking for the Google instructions. So that should speed this up. I will start that process today to try to get the key back online. And worst case scenario, I can just I can just personally sign the Windows builds like on my local machine, and then we can upload them. But best case scenario, we can get the action fixed before the next release. How does that sound? Does that sound amenable to people?
That sounds great. I mean, I would happily spend more money to get it done than use people's valuable time. And if some people don't have enough money to do this, like I think we can probably up Fleet's monthly donation, but I think we have thousands of dollars in the account.
That's great, man. It's I want to say it was like 1,000. It's less than $1,000 bucks, I think. I want to say it's like $800. It's just enough where I'm like, oh, that hurts. Like I can of course afford this, but it's I would love to.
Yeah, but no one here should. No one here, in my opinion, no one here should be personally paying for Osquery things. We all contribute with our time and energy and our company's resources.
Great, man. So Ziwas, I'll sync with you offline then. I don't mean to take the whole office hour. I really wanted to bring this up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's noted in the notes, and thanks for bringing it up.
It's too bad Apple CA isn't in Windows, so you could just use your Apple developer.
Oh God, tell me about it.
Well, that would be convenient. Cool. I know that Lucas. Anything else on that? Sounded like we were wrapped.
That's all from me. Sorry, I'm good on that.
Okay.
I think I have a path forward. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Nick. I know Lucas had something that he wanted to talk about. You want to bring that up, Lucas?
Yeah, sure. So I'll send. Let me see where's the chat here. But there's this issue I just opened, I think last week. Give me a sec. It's 8337. So there's this issue with the users table. I mean, the users table is documented as listing local users, right? But that is not always the case. And that has caused issues on. We've seen some customers having this issue with this table because if you just do select star from users on a machine that uses LDAP for authentication, you're gonna get every user of the directory, right? Which is not correct, right? And if you actually send that query, a query like that to every device, Linux device, then every Linux device will return every LDAP user from the directory, which can bring the whole directory down. So I wanted to discuss just to start the discussion somewhere maybe on the issue about solutions to that. I have a few. But yeah, I think we should but the goal here is that the users table should be local, right? I don't think it should be making, it should be making requests, but if you do select star, it shouldn't be like listing the whole directory, which can be big for some organizations. So that's the issue, and I'm happy to discuss this either here or in the issue.
Yeah, if I can already give a comment there. Yeah, definitely good catch. That's definitely a shortcoming of the table and how it is written. So I was looking at the solution, or the suggested solution you provided. I think that, I mean, if we want to change less of the of what the user's table represent, probably adding, as you proposed, a type, local or remote, as an additional, basically, well, additional as in additional in the table, but also additional as type of column. Yeah, with that you can specifically select local or remote or eventually both. And also that should also make it more clear when you're doing select star what you are really querying.
I mean, that would be the least breaking change, right? Because
Yeah.
there's the fear of breaking people like the table, right? Because we're going to change its semantics. But now, should we actually also change the documentation of the table? Like, it's not local, right? You're going to get, because the table is documented as local users, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
we probably should change that to. Yeah.
I think for two reasons. I think that we should not change the documentation. We should make the table work as documented, but still provide a way to get LDAP users. The reasons would be, one, if we change the table documentation, that, well, it seems like it's a bug to me that we're listing remote LDAP users, and I think that we should make the table be consistent with the documentation rather than the documentation consistent with the table. But mostly the reason is because of what you pointed out here, Lucas, in that other tables also use the select all from users. And that means that this bug or potential big performance issue and potential performance issue that actually impacts beyond just the system that Osquery is running on, which is especially concerning in my eyes, that is like these other tables that follow that pattern end up inheriting the bad performance issue. And so I think that we should really change it so the default is to only return the local users, and then using an additional column or something like that, I'll give the user the option to explicitly select the remote users. And then my argument would be that then in the release notes we say something like, the users table was always documented to include only local users, but actually on Linux it also included remote LDAP users. It's now been fixed to only include the local users, and then maybe a little bit about the reason why that is.
And then as a separate thing, like let's say we decide to do that, right? How would a user get the actual LDAP users? Like maybe through some like an argument, like a local type remote, something like that, to allow for that, right? If the user wants to.
Yes, I would say we definitely have other tables where we sort of allow something in the where clause to affect what's generated. So it could be, where type equals remote would be only remote, or where type equals all would be local and remote, where type equals local, which would be the default, would be only local. That would be, to me, that would be the most sort of sane behavior.
And then just one last thing around this. There's a middle ground where I think this is a solution, I don't know which one is it. That something in the middle would be, okay, we'll list local users. But what is a local user? If you have a machine that uses LDAP for authentication, you might have some users there that will not show up, right? Because they are on LDAP. We could have a middle ground solution where we select from etc password, right? Those are the local users. And then we just make a couple of requests for those users that have logged in at some point, and we know they are local. I mean, they have logged in. But again, that's a middle ground solution to allow users to get these these users that are not local but remote. But again, something we can discuss on the issue. Yeah.
I think if that's reasonable enough to implement, I'd love to see it do that.
I'm not sure how well you could do that without effectively hitting network calls, and I feel like network calls are probably an anti-pattern here.
Well, I was thinking about, I mean, the middle ground solution is, okay, you get this user from Etsy password, that's easy. And then you just use whatever the last table, there's a table called last, which has the last, I mean, all the users that have ever logged in to the system. You query those, and then you just make LDAP requests using those users, right? Instead of the whole LDAP directory. But again, this would not be remote. Yeah.
But I that doesn't feel like. So we embed the users table all over the place, right? Select star from users ends up joined against larger queries. So I would bias very heavily towards keeping that very small and simple and not bringing in last there. At least not by default. Whether there's a where clause and a contextual change seems okay. But I would be very hesitant to bring in something where, you know, select star from users triggered some complex behavior around trying to look for who's logged in recently and then fetch full LDAP records for them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. We can start simple and then see how users react, and maybe they'll request something to get those users.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this, Lucas. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's probably been a long-standing performance bug here. And I think it's especially concerning in that Osquery has safeguards for performance impacts that it makes on the local system, but if it's hitting an LDAP server, or a bunch of Osquery agents are hitting LDAP servers because of queries running in packs, there are no safeguards there. So that's like, that's a big deal.
All right, then I'll submit a PR, and it's pretty simple, but I'll submit a PR and we can maybe follow the discussion there.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
Okay. And just one, I mean, I don't know if I have just one item that I forgot to add to the agenda is the change logs. I've been like checking with this the change logs, so we're not generating change logs. I'm happy to help and generate those and submit a PR if that's okay. Is that something that I mean, I think USEF submitted a tool that was used to do that.
Let me review where I left that tool and try and put some info up somewhere for that.
Okay. I mean, I'm just checking because customers like usually they like to see what's coming, right? And yeah.
For the tool.
Yes, and that reminds me, Lucas, that I said I would do this and then got caught up in other things. So maybe I can actually do it today.
I've got some unpushed code changes to the tool that generates it. So let me clean them up and get them pushed out.
Okay, Seth, once you do that, I'm happy to do the rest of the work to actually
Okay.
get the changelog done. And I can also take on the responsibility generally of doing the changelogs. I know that you already do a bunch on the releases, Seth, so maybe we can kind of split things up to some
maybe.
extent, if that's helpful.
We might also be able to shove them into well, we should figure out if we can put them into an action. But one of the things that makes it harder to put them into an action is that we often want to like modify them, so it's not strictly generatable.
Yeah, and at Fleet, for example, we do a sort of automated process to aggregate a bunch of stuff, and then it's always manually edited.
Yeah,
I guess I'm saying I'm happy to be the manual editor.
If you want to take that on for a bit, that's probably cool. I have some notes somewhere about what goes into an Osquery release, so that we can kind of start winnowing down and automating. Like over the last 4 years, we've automated a lot more than it used to be, but there's still some gaps. So we can try and pick that up again. Let me push the changes I have for this tool, and we can also just drop it. It's effectively a very light wrapper that does something similar to what like get log one line does, or what the GitHub auto generate release notes functionality does as well. It's sort of in the same vein. So I don't know. I'll push changes up, and then we can iterate.
Don't talk to me right now. Just go. Shit.
All right. Any other topics that folks have? Five point 13 release timing, perhaps? Should we shoot for a 5.13 release in early June?
Probably. My hunch is that one of the most important things is that ATC table fix, which
That's
have
in 5.12.1, right?
no.
Oh, the revert is.
The revert, we shipped a revert, but there's a pending PR from Brad. I think.
Brad.
So we should make sure we just get that merged in, and I would have to review what else is in flight right now. That's the one that I think matters most.
I'd love to see, Brad's work on that. I'd love to see Lucas's work. Lucas, I guess I wonder, Brad, to my understanding, Brad's work is potentially mostly done.
I think so.
Review, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Lucas, I guess I'm curious how long you think you would need to get this work that we just discussed done.
Yeah, early June sounds good to me. Yeah, like
maybe we can.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
go
have
ahead,
a proof
Lucas.
concept. Yeah, have a proof concept. So it's just about making it production ready code, and it shouldn't be hard.
Okay. So maybe we can shoot for like tagging the release around first week of June and hopefully marking it stable by June 15th or so. That sound good to folks?
Sounds a little ambitious, but maybe not in a terrible way.
Okay.
So are we releasing almost back-to-back 5.12.2 and then 5.13? Yeah.
We've merged a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And the 5.12.2 was pretty delayed because it took us a while to find that bug and figure out what to do. So I think if we actually stick to a nominal every 2-month cadence, then June would be sort of the right target for that. And I know we've at least approved and or merged a bunch of stuff. So may not be the biggest release, but it's got some stuff in it.
So, and 5.12.2, Fleet's not really pushing that because we haven't observed. We are running it in our beta, but I don't think that we're planning to push it to our stable because we have not observed, we've not been able to reproduce in our environments the issue. And so we think that our customers don't need it to be pushed. But we can say it seems to be stable as far as we can tell. So if folks want to mark that 5.12.2 stable now, then it'll still be 3 weeks or so between that and the 5.13 release.
Collide pushed 5.12.2 to our beta environment, but we haven't pushed it to stable yet, mostly for unrelated reasons. I think the only issue we saw was the ATC table issue. So I think it's probably, I would say 5.12.2 is stable.
Well, shall we mark it stable then?
Sure. That's a 2-step process. Flag the releases stable and go through the GitHub action. I guess there's probably website nonsense too.
Seth, is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I'll try and flag that all stable today.
And it occurs to me that I don't really know how this release stuff works very well, and I can help more if
Let me find my notes.
the other thing is if you can use like I don't know if you have Loom or anything like that, or just something where you could screen record, and especially if screen record and get a transcript. That's a really great way to show how to do things, and then it's like referenceable.
I'm honestly not a big fan, and none of this is that complicated. I'll
Okay.
put my notes somewhere. We can like start a conversation in one of the Slack channels.
Okay. Sounds good.
You know, at this point, this is mostly all automated-y, but there's still a lot of like trigger this GitHub job, trigger that GitHub job, trigger this GitHub job. So we haven't stitched them together yet.
Right.
Maybe we can put this in like a new repo under the Osquery org, like a tools repo or, you know, release tools repo.
Maybe. I don't know if there are places we could just tie the jobs together. So but I'll put it up somewhere. I'll probably just dump it into core. I'll try and do that today when I go through and do this. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if someone wants to think about, can we automate more of this, or can we stitch some of these pieces together, or can we have something trigger another thing? Like, I'd love for someone to pick that up. But I will dump the notes I have into Slack, and we can talk about it. Well. Anyone want to talk about anything else?
Perhaps time back.
Okay, well, I will take this time to take a look at the release notes generator, put a PR up for that, and release 5.12.2.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for nudging me about that.
Yeah, and then Seth, after that, I can try to do the 5.12.0 or I guess 5.12.1 is the one that we declared stable before, so I could do the bigger 5.12.1.
Actually, that's an interesting question. Do we want to publish release notes for 5.12.1 or just sort of stick a go read 5.12.2?
Well, I guess I'm of the opinion that because we declared 5.12.1 stable, we should have release notes on it that indicate everything, and then that 5.12.2, the release note should be the only change is this one for the ATC tables.
That seems legit. I'm kind of good either way, so whatever
Other folks?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, even only from automation point of view, if anyone is downloading the description of the release via GitHub API. It's just a favor for them to have the correct description instead of having to somehow jump to another release. But yeah.
Okay. It looks like we actually have about 6 commits in there, which I think sounds about right. So okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks.